Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is know your people through profiling, and this is what I say personality profiling. If you can very well make generic profiling of a person, it becomes very easy for us to handle them and maneuver them to our benefit and probably to their benefits too. So basically, employ your skills as far as profiling is concerned to manage your employee. So, what do we need to cover up in this particular presentation? Let's say we will discuss the factors that determines the individual personalities. MBTI or Myers-Briggs type indicator personality framework that we'll talk about it. The big five personality model. If this five personality model is mastered around it, and it is going to help you in times to come. Explain the impact of job typology on personality, job performance relationship, and that is where it comes around it. If you can understand the job typology, the job relation, the job personality, the bond between them, how directly proportional or indirectly or inversely proportional are they, if you can able to understand, comprehend them, and probably employ that knowledge for the overall management of the employees and the organization. And last but not the least is to how to measure personality, that would we will be discussing around here. So exactly what is personality? When we talk of personality, we don't mean that a particular person is very charming or having a positive attitude towards, like a smiling face or genial personality. What are we looking into is, let's say, the Miss Universe contest of any particular year, and you will see the top 3 top 5 models would be always a person who has these positive attributes about herself out there as a Miss Universe thing. The most happiest and the friendliest face, charming face, approachable face is what we are looking as in personality. It's not the face that comes around it, it's the total composition of the personality, the characteristic, the way she carries herself. When a psychologist talk of personality, they mean dynamic concept that is all about growth and development of a person within the psychology, the whole psychology system that the person is brought up in. It's the values, it's the beliefs that the person believes in. It's not only the way they carry themselves. Rather, looking at some part of a person, personality essentially look at the aggregate whole, which is often greater than the total sum of the part. This is what I'm trying to tell it to you. It is not the phase that matters at all. It is absolutely not the phase that matters at all. It is the way you carry yourself is what we are looking at it. The way your behavior is all about it. The way you handle issues, the attitude that you belong to is what exactly is the personality. Remember, personality is not looking the parts of a person. It looks at a whole aggregate, which is definitely bigger than all the parts. So, as the case is, the sum total of ways in which an individual reacts or interacts with others. This is what we are looking at it. The sum total of ways in which an individual reacts or interacts with others. It's the behavior that you constitute, is the way you carry yourself, is the belief system that you believe in, and so on so forth. It is everything which is added upon it that comprises your personality. So, what are the determinants? Number one is heredity. Yes, definitely, yes, refers to those factors that determine at the conception, at the very beginning, during the development. It is ingrained in your DNA, as in what will your resilient features will all about it, the facial expression, the shape of your jawbones, the gender, the temperament, the energy level. It is there in the DNA, and you can very well, obviously, you have heard people of saying or generalizing a community which might specify being very hard and sturdy, a community which is might be very lazy and having a laid back attitude. I am not defining, I'm not meaning any personal community out here, but all of you can understand based upon your ambiences that you are watching this particular video as to what all community can be the reference point and how do you give the generic personality traits thereby. So this is all we are talking about in terms of a DNA, that is in the heredity. Then comes the environment. Yes, environment does plays a strong role in forming a personality. A person who was brought up in a sturdy environment, a rough terrain, probably will be very determined in his or her approaches. Maybe if somebody is living in a war-torn country, maybe somebody is living under the foothills of a hilly region, and where he or she has to transverse a lot of terrain, upheaval and downhill terrain altogether. So basically, these are the people who will be very sturdy in their physical attributes, as all about it. It's the culture that in which we are raised. Remember, that is what I'm trying to tell you. To a very early condition, the norms of our family, friends, and social group will determine what kind of personality determinants that needs to be stated out here. It is your situation that comes around it. A third thing is, despite your DNA, despite your environment, you might be actually been relocated somewhere else, and you have to attune yourself to the change environment. Now, this is where the individual general stable and consistent does change in different situation. Probably somebody becomes an immigrant at later part of their career, maybe for higher studies, maybe for better opportunities, moves into a different country altogether. There, the whole situation is different. The whole legal system might be different. The whole approach to life, the value system would be completely different, and one has to attune himself or herself according to the situation. So yes, personality determinants are that of heredity, are that of environment, are that of situation that comes around it. We'll talk about the personality traits. Yes, I have been trying to tell it to you. Approximately 16 primary traits. How many? Again, I repeat, 16. Basically, when I say 16, there are opposite 16 also. That means that there are 32 traits that we are talking about it. Let's say, let's visit one of the traits one by one. One is reserved personality vis-a-vis on outgoing personality. Somebody who is reserved and somebody who is outgoing. People who are less intelligent vis-a-vis more intelligent. People who are affected by heart in the sense of feelings versus emotionally stable, probably people who think from their mind. People who are submissive, and then there are people who are dominant. There are people who are dead serious every time, 24 hours a day. Then there are people who are happy go lucky by nature, who live as is, what is, where will be, que sera sta, as the saying goes around. What has to happen will happen. No doubt what you got to go around it. Then there are people with expedient personality vis-a-vis the conscious people, the people who think repeatedly, twice, thrice before taking a drastic step. Then there are people who are timid, and then there are people who are venturesome. Probably they love taking risks, and there are people who will not, who are adverse to all form of risk taking. People who are tough minded versus sensitive, that is what we are talking around here. People who instinctively trust vis-a-vis people who do not trust at all, and is suspicious of every Tom, Dick, and Harry person that he or she meets altogether. People who are practical vis-a-vis people who are imaginative, people who are forthright vis-a-vis people who are shrewd, people who are transparent vis-a-vis people who have inner meanings and hidden agendas altogether. This is what forthright and shrewd is all about it. Then there are people who are self-assured, apprehensive. There are people who are conservative vis-a-vis experimenting. People who are group department, who dependent, sorry, who would depend on a group and will not sway from the group opinion. They will adhere very strongly with the group norms altogether. And then there are people who are very independent vis-a-vis, who would love to make their own way, love to carve their own path and destiny thereby. There are people who are controlled oriented vis-a-vis the people who are a free rein spirit. Absolutely yes. People who are relaxed vis-a-vis people who are tense. And I'm sure most of you have accomplished or categorized yourself in one of these 16 categories of the primary traits that people exhibit extensively. So that is what we are. Then we have the MBTI, the Myers Briggs type indicators. These are personality traits of those indicators that comes around it. That is what we are looking into it. As far as Mayer Baker indicators goes around it, they classify all this into a 16 categories, and you have to tell me, you have to let know what category you are comprehending or segmenting a person into it. MBTI is one of the most widely used personality framework, which has no hard evidence as a valid of uh, personality measurement. So understand altogether the big five model. I'll give it to a different model altogether. Now there are people who are very extroverts, people who are agreeable, people who are conscious, people who are open to experiences, and then people who are emotionally stable. Now people who are extroverts are the people who are very social, who are very loud, who are very assertive. People who are agreeable would be people who are good nature, who are cooperative, who are trusting, who will easily yield themselves to the greater cause. People who are conscious might look at the responses, responsibleness, the dependability, ethical values, persistent, and are much more organized in their day to day workings. The fourth is all about openness to experience. I am talking about extrovertism. I am talking about imaginativeness. I am talking about people who are artistic, who are intellectualism, who will challenge everything, who will take every statement, every experience with a pinch of salt, and would like to explore them more in details. Then there are people who are emotionally stable. Stable are the people who are self-confident, who are secure about themselves vis-a-vis nervousness, very depressed and insecure being the negative things. So emotional anchor that we go around it. We have positivism, positive anchored people, and then there are people who are negatively anchored also. Let us come on to the different segment as a personality attribute. Therein, which is we call about it. You look at this particular diagram that it seems that there the staircase keeps on going, happening and happening and never ends. It's that locus of control that we talk about it. Where do you get your ratification from, with whose approval you are very much appreciate. Some of them would look for a locus of control from their bosses, some from their spouses, some from the children, some from the parents, or some simply from the acknowledgement in the magazine or in the media that goes around it. It is your locus of control which will determine the way you are going to act or behave. Then we have got Machiavellism. Machiavellism we will be talking subsequently in the in these slides altogether. It is the end which is more important and not the means at all as far as Machiavellism is concerned. We'll talk about the self-esteem, self-monitoring, propensity for taking risk, and type A personality or type B personality, with which I probably would love to summarize this particular presentation altogether. Let us understand one, two, three, four, five, six, seven aspect in detail. So, locus of control. First is the degree in which they believe they are the masters of their own fate. Many a times, the locus of control is within the individual, absolutely within the individual, and they know what they are capable of. But many a times, believe me, approximately 80% of the time, the external people believe that they are controlled by outside force. Did I say about your spouse? People are having the locus of control on their bosses. The people have locus of control on their children, on their parents, on their media. The way you want to give your importance is all about it. That determines what your behavior will all about it. That determines which approval you are. Machiavellism is what I've said, into which the individual is fragmented to maintain an emotional distance and believe that ends can justify the means. What is it? This means there can be ethical issues and unethical issues. For example, I need to make a huge sale, right? So, a huge sale, if I make, I can do it with the right incentives, as in the right methodology, giving flooding my all the retail counters with my products and probably lowering the prices, enhancing the quality. The other unethical way would be I will not do anything but probably bribe all my retail counter sales boy and salesman on the business fellow, the small business fellow, with a higher brokerage or higher commission, where therein they will automatically make sales in my favor. So condition favoring high Machiavellianism, that is what we are looking here. Then we talk about self-esteem and self-monitoring. Individual about themselves. How do they perceive? Do they have an inferiority complex? Do they have a superiority complex? Is what self-esteem and self-monitoring would all about it. It's a personality trait that able to adjust according to the environment. It's self-monitoring. Is the self-esteem on the other way? Is your complex that you believe in yourself altogether? Some people inherently believe that they are much way superior than to the other counterparts or the people at the vicinity. And then there are people who have this inferiority complex. No matter how good they are always trying to make believe that they are still yet to. Propensity for taking risk is what we are talking about. It high risk taking managers makes quicker decision, use less information to make decision, operates in a more smaller and more entrepreneurial organization. Remember, low risk taking managers are contrary to the high risk taking manager. The high risk taking means higher return that comes around it, but the slow risk, this is high h, this represent the growth rate, whereas the low risk taking would be like this. It will achieve the subject but very slowly, and will take the time duration very high. See what will happen on a, if on an x-axis and y-axis, this pinnacle would be served at the end of 5 years, but even this pinnacle, that height will not be reached out here. It is basically we are coming to this particular height at the end of, let's say, 10 years. So this is very low risk taking, are slow to take decisions, require more and more concrete information before making decisions, exist usually in a larger companies with a stable environment. Risk propensity is aligning managers risk taking propensity to job requirement. This is, we are looking into it. Did I say we'll talk it off of personality A? What is it? It is the people who are aggressive, chronic, incessant struggle to achieve more and more, and there is no limit to satiate their cravings for success. All about it against the opposing efforts of the other people and the other. So there are two types of personality. Which type do you belong to? You let me know. I'll tell you about type A. Are always motivated, self-motivated, self-walking, self-teeping, eating. They have time focus. They would love to finish all the project on time. They would love to achieve all the desired objectives. They are always impatient. They strive to think or do or more things at once, at probably something which we can cope with, cannot exactly cope with leisure time. Are obsessed with numbers, measuring their success in terms of how many or how much of everything they have acquired. Similarly, is type B personality. They never suffer from the sense of time of urgency. They are laid back in their attitude. They do not are very motivated. They do not complain. They are in their own comfort zone, feel absolutely no need to display or discuss achievement. They are good in their comfort zone altogether. Have, they would enjoy playing, have relaxation, and probably exhibit superiority at any cost. Most importantly, these are the people who can relax without any guilt. As so, personality assessment, how do we measure them? That's the last fragment of the presentation. First and foremost, if we have to measure them, we need to interview them, we need to observe them. There are subsequent personality tests. We have MBTI, we have Jung's personality test, JUNGS. We have objective personality test which can be administered, and you will come to know about what of these out in interviews. And question consist usually of dialogue where you can have open-ended question and let the person speak. You will see the flair of their communication, the language that they hold, the vocabulary that they speak around it. Observation consists of watching the person in various situations over a period of time in an effort to discern their ideas. Remember, it's the values, it's the beliefs, it's the behavior pattern that will exactly notify you what a wonderful person or otherwise the person is all about. Projective test, as far as personality is concerned, we have Rush Inkbold test, we have TAT or thematic appreciation test, and word and free association test, as the vocabulary is all about it. Thematic appreciation test is wherein if there is something called a glass, and the glass is filled with certain liquid. Now, how do you go about it? This is a liquid that has been filled in the glass. Now, how do you depict this particular picture as the glass is half filled or half empty? So, are you looking at the positivity or the negativity, or are you saying that this is a relative thing where there are ambient probability to fill the glass more with all the more liquid that we are talking about it? It's that thematic appreciation test, which is all about psychoanalytical view of personality. This is what I say will bring out the positive or the negative aspect of the person and the thought process thereof. Objective personality test attempts to uncover subjectivity of interviews, and projective test by using a pencil and paper multiple choice test or multiple choice question or MCQ that comes around it. This gives you a knowledge, exact idea what kind of technical know-how you have, what kind of situation in case if there's a case study will be handled around it. It tells you the thought process in black and white. So evaluation of this personality test is the research which needs to be taken care of, relying exclusively on the interpretation of the personality test. Results suggest that the personality tests are useful, but this result should be not to confirm other data of a person used in soul assessment. Now, application of psychology, situational influences on personality and everyday life, on a day to day life. Would you ever consider eating another human being? Probably. Would you ever consider drinking urine? Probably. Some beliefs say that this has medication values also. Would you ever kill, lie, or commit adultery? That is what we are looking into. Is as far as situation is concerned, and these are powerful situations. These are nothing that is I'm speaking out of the blue, but this happens rarely and definitely it happens in in our society situation which might be extreme, which might be radically change our ways of behaving altogether. That is the cycle that comes around it. With this I come to an end of this particular presentation. Thank you for watching this video.